Hello and welcome to the Gnomecast. My name's Tarmack and this is Diablo 3, something that's been taking up a lot of my time over the last couple of weeks. It's a little bit disappointing because I haven't gotten any other videos out, and there's been a few indie games that have come out recently that I did want to do some coverage of, but hey, it's Diablo 3. We've been waiting over a decade for this stupid game to come out. It's good. Honestly, I mean, really when it comes right down to it, there isn't a whole lot to be disappointed in as far as the gameplay goes. The graphics are very good. The effects look fantastic. The sound is phenomenal. Big surprise, Blizzard's sound always is. The gameplay itself, it has a lot of weight to it, especially if you're playing the Barbarian. Barbarian and Monk, melee classes, very, very heavy as far as the hits go. Demon Hunter, Wizard, and Witch Doctor have a little bit more finesse and grace to them as far as how you're dealing with the enemies that you're fighting. Ultimately, as I said, it's a good game. There isn't a lot to be disappointed in. Now, for those that don't know a whole lot about Diablo, the basics are this. You've got 4 different acts in Diablo 3 and 4 different difficulty settings. You're going to play through those 4 acts at least 4 times. Okay, you're going to go through 1 to 4, then you move up to the next difficulty settings. You've got Normal, Nightmare, Hell, and Inferno, each getting progressively more and more difficult as you go through it. There is also a Hardcore mode, which is basically you die once, your character's gone, so don't get attached to it. There aren't a lot of people that go for that, but to each their own, right? Now, one of the big things about Diablo has always been the loot. And Diablo 3 does have a little bit of a disappointment in the loot side of things. You're going to get an awful lot of magic drops. You're going to get a lot of rare drops as you're going through it. You're going to get very few legendary drops. Legendaries are the higher tier of item. Everything is randomized. The legendaries are randomized, the rares are randomized, the magic items are randomized. Absolutely everything is. So you can end up, for example, with a mighty two-handed weapon that is meant for a barbarian that has intelligence on it. To go even further than that, some of the itemization is actually kind of looks broken. You can get a level 60 required item. 60 is the max level that you can reach in this game that has plus experience on it. Not really sure what the point is, unless you're planning on hoarding it for the next expansion, hoping that they're going to be raising the level cap. There has been a bit of a criticism about the game being too bright, and the video that I'm showing in the background here, this is the second act, or a part of the second act. Yeah, it does look a little bit brighter than a lot of the stuff in Diablo 2 and Diablo 1, but not everything has to be a gothic cathedral. It's just the way it is. Right? The atmosphere is still appropriate. The atmosphere and the tone and everything is very much appropriate to what the game is all about. I really don't understand the criticism of too bright. I think people are just finding a reason to whine when there really is none there. So how exactly does it compare? Well, I believe the leveling system is far superior, personally. I'm not really a big fan of putting points into stats and points into talents and all of that nonsense. I think that it's a bit of a false sense of customization. It doesn't really let you change your character because you're either doing it right or you're doing it wrong. You're either picking the talents that make the most sense by math, or you're not. Quite simple. In Diablo 2, there was a big problem with the leveling where people would sit on their talent points. They wouldn't spend them. They'd go through 30 levels, just stockpiling all of these points, just so that when they got to that max level, or that end talent, they could just put the whole thing in right at one time and be done with it. That is broken. That's not a good way of building a talent system or a skill system. Period. The way they've done it in Diablo 3 is you've got runes. It's the only real customization you've got other than gear. You get levels, your stats go up automatically depending on what your class is. The runes allow you to pick a different style of play. They give you more options. You're picking between things like resource generation, stuns, slows, those sorts of things, or single versus multi-target attacks. That kind of customization allows you to actually pick how you want to play the game. You can't really be right or wrong in that sort of a standpoint. It's not a question of math anymore. At least that's the goal. That's what they were trying to do in Mists of Pandaria for World of Warcraft as well. Not so sure how successful they've been on that front. How else does it compare? I think the plot's better. I mean, really, when it comes right down to it, Diablo didn't have a plot. Diablo 1, they've had to come back and retroactively build all of this plot to actually make it make sense. Diablo 2 had some to it. There was some really great stuff there, but Diablo 3 blows it away. And how else do they compare? Well, the difficulty settings are much more representative of what people have been looking for. There was a lot of complaining when the beta came out about the difficulty being far too easy, and the reason for that was because people were just playing on normal. Blizzard came out and they did a little video saying, "You will die, we promise." That was the title. And they're right, honestly. When you get into Nightmare, things start to get a little bit hairy. You start to die an awful lot more. When you get into Hell difficulty, it's just downright vicious and unforgiving. I think pretty much every elite pack that I have dealt with in Hell has killed me at least once. And some of them I've had to walk away from it because I just wasn't getting any hits in, the mobs were healing. I just had to move on. There really wasn't anything I could do. That kind of difficulty takes it a little bit of a different way. It's kind of unfortunate when you actually have to walk away from the critter. Part of the reason for that is because of the randomization. I ran into that in a very small quarters dungeon. I didn't really have any room to maneuver, and I was out of luck. But you really have to start to use the tactics of the characters that you're playing. You have to start using those stuns and those slows. And that wasn't there in Diablo 2. That wasn't there in Diablo 1. It was creative use of what sort of terrain you're dealing with. But now there's more tactics to it. Fantastic addition. I love it. It's great. Now we're at the part where I get to talk about the bad bits. I'm going to be very brief on this because I already did a little bit of a rant on it. The online only is garbage. You shouldn't have to wait in a queue to play a single-player game, and we shouldn't be forced to do all of this stuff so that Blizzard can make money to keep Battle.net up and running. I'm not so sure that it's just a matter of a break-even that they're looking for. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. It's a little bit disappointing, right? I mean, you've got this game that everybody has been waiting for so long, and nobody's being really up in arms about this. Everybody's just kind of taking it, which is unfortunate. It's a big mistake. It's something that I think is going to come back and bite Blizzard in the ass a little bit, and personally I hope it does. I think it's a bad choice, ethically wrong. They've had some technical problems with the auction house. They've pushed back the real money date a few times. They've had a number of issues with slowdowns and items that have been lost, and all manner of other things. And I just don't look forward to the future date, maybe 10 years down the road when I decide I want to go back and play Diablo 3 and I can't because the servers are gone. Don't know, that's just me. I'm a little bit worried. But all told, that's Diablo 3 in a nutshell. If I had to give it a score, let's say out of 12 garden gnomes, I would give it a 9 3/4. Because it's a great game, with some fairly substantial flaws in general design. My name's Tarmack, and this has been the Gnomecast, looking at Diablo 3. Cheers.